Most companies fail when they're growing. They fail because they take on too many jobs and they can't manage them accordingly. So I was able to know that information, and based on that, I went ahead and created a business model which became of not going after all of the projects that are out there, not bidding and not winning a large amount of, let's say 20, managing 20 at the same time with very thin margins. I instead pivoted and said, I don't want to focus on volume. I want to focus on going after projects that are larger in contract dollar value, that at the end you end up with the same amount of revenues, but it's less projects. So it's a lot easier to manage.
Welcome to the Power of Construction. I'm Sasha Reed.
And I'm Chris Langiza.
And today we have with us Indra Gutiérrez, who's joining us all the way from Houston. Actually had a chance to drive over, I think, from Houston.
That's correct.
Thanks for making the long trip.
So deciding not to fly in, but actually to drive, which turned out to be a really good decision for you.
That's right. Yes. No, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you on the podcast, and I think you have a great story, so we're looking forward to it.
For those of you who aren't familiar, I want to give it a little bit. You're the president of Gutierrez. You manage the company's business operations, development, and organizational structure. You're currently overseeing projects in the Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, as well as the Austin area. And you have 18 plus years experience in the industry as well. Your past experience, though, involved both corporate as well as field experience. So you kind of have a foot or understanding of the two of those, as well as working for EPC companies on the operator owner side, which gives you a very well-rounded perspective here. You have extensive experience in the entire project lifecycle, all from development, design, construction, and then all the way into operations as well. And you've been awarded some awards, and you do quite a bit volunteering. Let me just share a little bit of it. Member of the Executive Leadership Board at the University of Houston, UH Cullen College of Engineering, Ernst & Young Entrepreneurs Access Network member, Top 40 Under 40 by the Houston Business Journal, and alumni board member for Kendra Scott's Women Entrepreneurial Leadership Institute, which that for me, I'm wearing my Kendra Scott earrings today. That to me, I was so excited to see that. Tell us a little bit about that kind of journey into entrepreneurship. Clearly, that's a theme for you.
Yes. So I'm really passionate about empowering the next generation of entrepreneurs, specifically around women, right? Making sure that they have the platform and they are able to be, that I can advocate for them, right? So Kendra Scott went ahead and decided to open this institute at the University of Texas, and I decided to be part of it, and I'm now the president of it. And I get to really speak to all of these young ladies and tell them about entrepreneurship and what it takes, and to really go and chase if that's really what they want to do. And I'm also very honest with them about what it takes. So it's been great being part of it. I've been part of it for the past 3 years. So
I love that too, because construction I always talk about is such a great breeding ground for entrepreneurs, right? Like if you want to own a business someday, this industry is such a great place to be. So the marriage of that idea of like how to be an entrepreneur with an industry that's just built for people to go and start a business based on a skill that they have, I think is really powerful.
Tell us about Gutierrez, because I don't think it maybe is well known to others as it is in this region. Tell us a little bit about the company.
Yes. So we are a general contractor. We're based out of Houston, but we do have projects in Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio, and outside of the Houston area. And we have been in business for 10 years. And the business has been built up from, the ground up, and we have been growing since inception. And the markets that we focus on are industrial, commercial, and government markets. And we usually self-perform all of the civil work, earthwork,
Gotcha.
paving, concrete, and Division 7, which is the building envelope. And we sub out MEP, all of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing.
Now, for those of you who may not know, that has really translated not only to scale the business, but you're experiencing profit margins 4 to 5 times what is typical in construction. So clearly you're doing something right. But what was behind your decision to become a self-performing GC?
Yeah, so, the plan was always, since inception, was to become a general contractor. We started as a specialty contractor, and the plan was always to become a GC, and that didn't happen until year 6. And that happened as a result of us building with zero capital investment. So when you are not only scaling, but changing the business model of a company, you have to be very strategic because there's a lot of risk. So construction is a high risk business.
Really?
So,
are you sure? We're talking about the same?
Clearly, yes.
So you have to make sure that you're making the right decisions, because most companies fail when they're growing. They fail because they take on too many jobs and they can't manage them accordingly. So I was able to know that information, and based on that, I went ahead and created a business model which became of not going after all of the projects that are out there, not bidding and not winning a large amount of, let's say 20, managing 20 at the same time with very thin margins. I instead pivoted and said, I don't want to focus on volume. I want to focus on going after projects that are larger in contract dollar value, that at the end you end up with the same amount of revenues, but it's less projects. So it's a lot easier to manage. You can focus on your operational excellence and focusing on having a safe environment and delivering a quality product. And when I look at projects, I also look at, what industry, what market do I want to be in? What client, who are my customers? Who do I want to do business with? What scope of work do I want to be part of? And then I look at my competition. What are the barriers of entry? The larger barriers of entry, the better for us.
I love that.
So it's less competition. So I have a higher probability of winning work, which means I don't have to spend as much time estimating when I already know, I have an idea of, okay, you have 3 bidders versus 10 bidders. And then I look at the margins. The margins, do they make sense? And I have been able to do that the last couple of years. But I will say, so since the company really, we had to start with $0, right, and grow eventually, we had to wait until it was the right time. And it's never the right time.
I was about to say.
We made the change in the middle of COVID. We were in the middle of COVID as the business was changing. So you can imagine the amount of change that was happening, not only internally, but outside in the entire world. So trying to pivot. So I will say, what I learned in that 1 year, I felt like I had been in business for 10.
I believe it.
It's funny. We always talk about how transformational COVID has been for construction, but this is a different type of transformation that was kind of forced during that time. And that's really, really interesting to hear the timing on that.
Well, one of the reasons why we really wanted to sit down with you today is Procore just released its Future State of Construction report. This project was at least 2 years in the making, surveying over 1,200 business leaders and mostly decision leaders and decision makers across 8 different countries to ask them, what is the current state that you're experiencing in construction? And then what is that future state? We as Procore have a perspective on what that future state is, but we really wanted to have a conversation with industry around 4 pillars. So we look at this, the foundation of this as people, platform, and data. That is the foundation on which the pillars of workforce, design, decision-making, and productivity, those are kind of the pillars that will then hold this future state. So we invited you on today because we really wanted to dive into this with you. And what we were seeing is in those surveys is that today everyone's very much focused on gut decisions and trying how to overcome those gut decisions to make more informed decision making. So when we look at the future of decision making, Procore's view is that this is going to be much more proactive, that we're going to be data-informed decision-making processes and individuals using predictive analytics accompanied with human expertise. And your company being 10 years old, so young, I'm really, really curious. Do you agree with that future state vision? And how does that translate to the business you've been creating for the last 10 years?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm a big advocate when it comes to data, right? We are a data-driven company. So I focus not only on the experience that my team has, but I also implement technology into the way we execute the business. And I think it's important because you could have somebody that has, 20 plus years of experience, but they could go on a job site and know that something's off. They don't know what it is, but they just know. And it may take them a much longer time to figure it out, to where if you actually had data points that you can reference, you can solve your problem a lot faster. Also, you could have such a high performer, a person that's really passionate about getting the job done. But what if they're not meeting the results that are required, and you don't know why, and I don't know why, and he doesn't know why. And data can point those things out for us as they can help us understand, okay, you're working on the wrong problem. So you can solve your problem a lot sooner if you have data accessible. And I think it's even more important because a lot of people that do have the experience are going to be retiring very soon.
Right.
So the data should be able to help us be more productive and get to our solutions a lot faster. I will say, in my company, we have a person that oversees the data to make sure that it's accurate and that it is consistent across all of the projects that we have. And we also have, whenever Procore launched their pre-construction a couple of years ago, we went ahead and added it to our package. So now we do everything in Procore from pre-construction. You do all your estimating, takeoffs, pre-qual, all the way to close out of a project. So that has really reduced the amount of time that we spent, because we used to have another system and we had to re-enter everything into Procore. To where now setting up a project on Procore is a lot faster than trying to get all the data from a different software system. It's been a huge time saver for us. And then the same thing with productivity. So productivity, being able to track productivity is key. We track productivity on a daily basis.
Wow.
We want to know, okay, that the quantities get installed based on the man hours that we put on there. And the productivity factor will tell you. And then we're able to know and if you're going to meet the schedule or not based on that, based on the number of quantities that were installed on those man hours. And if you're not, then we need to stop and we need to discuss and make a change and pivot so that we do reach the project schedule completion date.
So much to unpack here.
I know. I was like, this is gems.
Sasha was tapping me on the leg trying to tell me to slow down, Chris. I see where you're going here. So I want to unpack two things. The first is something that you mentioned before, and then you brought up pre-construction. You talked about growing by making conscious decisions, right? And going after the projects where you knew there'd be less bidders, where you knew that you had a competitive differentiation. Has data helped you make those decisions? And is that something that you're like, we have all this data now, so we know which people we're most profitable with, so we want to go chase more work with them? How has that informed you deciding where to grow the business?
Yes, so we have all the historical data, right? All the historical data that's stored on the pre-construction phase. And we're able to identify where we were competitive and where was the most valuable our time was spent. So that was really important. That is still, we're able to allocate our time based on those areas, those data points. And then I would also say, having data that is accurate is very, very important. because if you don't have somebody dedicated to making sure that data is correct and it's inputted correctly across all projects, then your data is not accurate and you may not be making the right decisions.
So was there an aha moment where you were like, I need a data czar, right?
Yes.
Like what was that moment? Like what brought you to that point? And like, if you're recommending to other people in the audience, like when should they be thinking about this?
The sooner the better. the sooner the better. Before your business gets even larger, do it when you're small because it's easier to control and maneuver versus when you're trying to make that change and you have offices in 5 different cities, 5 different states. That is so challenging. Do it as early as you can. It will save you so much time in the long run.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think this is like the old analogy of like a speedboat versus trying to turn a battleship, right? And like when you're a speedboat, you can maneuver very, very quickly, right? And your company's only 10 years old. So you have a lot of that flexibility and agility. So having that framework in place now is going to be like really important for your future growth. And so I applaud you for making that decision early. Have you ever come into a situation, you talked about intuition, I think was the word that you used, where your intuition and the data didn't jive and you were like, did one of them win? And like, can you tell me more?
Yes, I would say this has happened on a few projects that I've had to where there's scopes of work that are missing from being completed on a project. And, the entire project team is like, yeah, we're very close to completion. We got these 5 deliverables left to do. And you go back and you look at all of the data that's in Procore of your specs, your drawings, and you're able to see, okay, so were these 5 things completed? And it turns out that it's not. So being able to go back and double check the scope of work to make sure that you're not missing critical key things to be able to complete and close out this project has been very important. And this has happened on a few projects. And it's not because people are doing it on purpose. It's that sometimes they just don't know. Right? They just don't know, especially if you have a young workforce that have not been there. It's by mistake that they just miss it. Yeah. So data has been able to capture, Procore has been able to capture a lot of things for us that we would not be able to capture.
When it sounds like it's helping you translate that knowledge from those who've seen it before and what to look for to those who are coming into the industry and newer to the industry that might not know what to look for. So you're using it to help bridge that gap. And that brings up an interesting question that I know Sasha and I debate a lot, which is like the future workforce and labor. I mean, you want to expand on that?
Yeah. So when we did our survey and we were looking at, well, what does the future workforce look like in this future state of construction? 51% of those that we surveyed said they want a better work-life balance, which from us coming from construction, like even from my days as a specialty contractor, to me, I was like, that just doesn't exist in construction. So if you're choosing construction, like that's out the window.
Embrace the suck.
Yes. But we're seeing such high burnout rates. Yes. So we're seeing that that's not good enough. That's not good enough. And that was very clearly reflected in the survey. The second piece was that 47% of those we surveyed said they want tech to be applied to the business to improve both safety and efficiency. So as we were hearing in the surveys, that one of the things that we wanted to talk to you about was it shows that the future generation that's coming in construction has an expectation that there's going to be technology in place. And clearly what you're doing is somewhat meeting the expectation of what that generation was looking for. But there's also this need for deep human collaboration and how we kind of share that information and knowledge. What are you seeing from a hiring standpoint? What does that hiring landscape look like? And what needs to change if we're really going to get that next generation to choose construction?
Yeah, so I think we have to be very intentional about going outside of the norm, outside of the typical organizations that we surround ourselves when it comes to the construction industry.
Right.
So I make it a point to go outside of that and go into different organizations, different environments that are not related to construction so that I can inform people of construction. So I talk about construction all the time. And I talk about, of what we're building, of the impact that we're creating in society. And I advocate, and I also let people know what the industry is about. So I think it's important to reach out to other areas, other non-traditional areas where you think you could find people that are not, they don't know anything about construction, but they have the skill set. I always say I can teach you construction if you have these soft skills, which are, are you a problem solver? Do you like to problem solve? Do you like to collaborate? Do you like to lead? Do you enjoy, working with teams? And also, are you able to deal with challenges, because it's a very challenging and hard industry. So if you're able to bounce back and try again, then I can teach you how to build. So I think we need to look at soft skills. We need to look at people that are maybe in very different positions that they never even thought about a career in construction, and bring them into our industry, because there is a huge labor shortage. So we need to figure out how are we going to get more people to join, and then how are we going to retain the people in the long run?
But that was going to be my next question then, is, are you finding that and you talked about Procore kind of being this platform of the common interface that everyone's using. Are you finding that the technology investments you've made are retaining that talent?
Yes, it definitely helps. And especially with the younger generation, a lot of the students that are new grads, right, that come and join our company, they understand the value. And the older generations, right, they understand the moment you explain it to them, and they say, this is what's going to save you. These are the amount of hours that it's going to save you in the long run. And this is why it's important. So you have to explain the why in order for people to be able to be part of it and join. Yeah.
I love the skills that you were talking about before, right? Like problem solver, the soft skills, like dealing with people. And, I think we talk about so much around like automation and augmentation and how that's going to change the world and the workforce moving forward. Like, are there like certain roles that you see can like significantly evolving in our industry based on what's happening in technology? And is that changing what you're looking for in those skill sets?
Yes. So I think it's important to be able to find people that can, like you said, that can withstand the amount of the long work hours, right? Which we're trying to reduce by being able to automate. And I think whenever you try to automate, you are able to reduce those labor hours, right? And they will help you. That will help you be able to get the job done a lot faster. Yeah.
Well, that's a perfect segue to talk about productivity. We talk about in the report that productivity is fueled by both like automation and augmentation, right? Whether it's robotics, whether it's AI, whether it's just software and technology, that way that we can make the human more effective. And we know that like 28% of project time is spent on rework, which is not great. So if we can eliminate that, we also spend a tremendous amount of time, like almost 20% of our time, just looking for data and information. So when we think about productivity, we know that technology has this big influence on culture, resilience, right? 65%, I think, say that tech adoption will heavily influence that. And 55% of the respondents said, hey, we believe that automation is going to disrupt our industry in the next 5 years. But, what are your thoughts on automation, robotics, as it relates to your people, their ability to become more productive, and like how you think that's going to change the way that work gets executed?
Yeah, I think we need to embrace it. And I think a lot of companies are now. I think we need to embrace it, and we need to adopt it into our everyday execution. I think, as you know, Sasha pointed out, there's a very high burnout of working long hours. So people want to be in the industry, but they get burned out. They can only do it for 1 or 3 years, and then they end up pivoting into a different career because it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable to be working the 60 to 80 hours a week to build these projects. So I think if we can implement robotics, anything that can help the individual complete a task faster, will likely reduce the amount of people leaving the industry, right? Because then it seems more achievable, more doable. Like you can have the work-life balance that everybody is looking for. So I think it's going to become very important. I think it's already here. It's already happening. Yeah. And if we want to, we already have such a huge labor shortage right now.
Yeah. We have no choice.
Yeah, like what are we going to do, if this continues to happen? So something has to change. And I think being able to implement this into your organization will pay off.
Are you doing anything specific at Gutierrez, like around this area, that any maybe early seeds or early things that you're doing around automation inside of the business?
So not yet. Okay. I'm heavily focused on the data, right? Yeah. Managing the data, making sure that it is accurate, reducing the rework is the big one.
Yeah.
That's why the data governance lead is so critical, because we're able to make those changes so instantly, quickly, and because we're small, we're able to do that. The next step would be automation.
Yeah.
Being able to get robotics into our project sites. We already have light cameras that are able to see what happens in the field, but I think we need to take it a step further and talk about, there's a construction control room that I have in mind that, I definitely want to implement one day.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Tell us more. I want to hear about this vision, because I have a similar vision. I want to see if they match up. Maybe we can work on this together.
Yeah. So I've envisioned a construction control room, kind of like the NASA control room.
Okay.
So if it's a large project, large scale, a couple $100 million to billions of dollars, you can have the control room in the field to where you can, kind of like the football game as well, right?
Yeah.
When the coach, they're up there and they're telling the players how to move, when to pivot. That's the vision that I have, but in the field.
Yeah.
So being able to instruct people and let people know how to move around, how to position themselves, and do it live. So it's live, which means it's going to reduce the amount of time you're going to waste doing things that you were not supposed to be doing, because there's a lot of miscommunication when it comes to construction, right? So being able to reduce that time, if it's live and you have somebody constantly overseeing and pivoting and correcting the errors, I think it can make a huge impact also when it comes to safety. If you're able to see those safety behaviors, you can call right away and say, hey, stop and pivot. So that's an idea that I have that I do want to do.
I'm gonna stretch your brain a little bit. Stay with me, folks. Hold my beer. So I think about this a lot, and I love this concept of like this real-time ability to observe and correct on the job site. And I think where technology is headed today, I envision this future, and if you squint just a little bit, you can see it, which is like there are already cameras everywhere on our job sites, whether they're in devices, in pieces of equipment, static, all these things. It's not that far away from a point where we will be able to say that we have almost 100% coverage on a job site, that you could tap into any one of those things at any time. They're all just sucking in data too. So whether it's a robot dog, whether it's a drone, whether it's a human walking the job site, and then all the other sensors that are out there, like I yearn for the day where, like you said, I'm the offensive coordinator sitting there looking at the last 5 plays and the next 5 plays that I'm going to call and going, okay, well, if I move this piece over here, or if I go tap into this camera, I can see what's happening on the 41st floor. And I think what I get really excited about here is when you talk about like people that are in the industry and leaving the industry, they're usually leaving not because they can't mentally do the job, but it's because they physically can't do it anymore. And I think about tapping into that senior expertise, and maybe it's not even on the job site, but it's a control room somewhere else. And now I have an expert on call that's just helping, like really, you know,
exactly.
That analogy, coaching on what things to look out for and what to go do. And I don't know, that just gives me
exactly.
Yes. Yeah, I love it.
Well,
I love it.
There's an interesting correlation here because when we look at this in terms of performance of teams, with the mental health crisis in construction, there's emerging technologies that are now coming online to help solve some of this problem. And one of them is a wearable that goes on a hard hat and can actually scan brain waves in order to understand and maybe do a little more predictive of somebody's mental health and mental state. And when this company first started to pilot and test, they expected a ton of resistance from the field because technology is often looked at as big brother. Like, oh my God, you're going to like be micromanaging everything I do. And all I want to be do is left alone to do my job. But we're entering a new crisis with the mental health issue in construction. It actually was the exact opposite. When the field laborers understood that the executive suite would have full visibility into how tough their job is, how they are impacted by changes and missed schedules and miscommunication, they actually had 100% buy-in in their pilot test. And the feedback from those field workers was, I want to know that they care enough to understand how these changes impact me. They're signing contracts around time and budget that I have no power over whatsoever. Yet when it comes down to crunch time, I'm expected to carry the full weight of this agreement. And so when you talk about this control room, you know, first thought may be like, oh, the field will never accept somebody being able to see every motion. But we're actually seeing the opposite. There's this strong desire for the field to say, I want the executive suite, not just the project manager, but the executive suite to understand how we are going above and beyond to deliver on this project.
Everyone who's in construction just wants to build.
Yeah, right.
That is not a question. And so like when you can unblock people from being able to do that work, I think they get super excited and they'll gladly, you know, wear a device, do a thing that helps them go do those things. But you brought up a really interesting point, is like the safety culture of all of this, right? And are there areas inside of your business that you're really focusing on where either culture or technology has been a driver for a lot of the improved performance around safety that you all have had?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So safety is our number one core value. And this core value is the most critical because error could really cost you the life of a person. We operate in a very high risk industry because it involves people's lives. So we take it very seriously, and we make sure it's embedded in our culture, everything that we do. And we start every meeting, whether you're in the field or in the office, we start every meeting with a safety topic and a core value topic to remind ourselves of the safety culture and why it's important. We also do, we're really huge on safety observations, both positive and negative. So we use those from Procore to really be able to see all of the leading indicators that could constitute having a recordable on site. So we are constantly really kind of telling on ourselves, right? And making sure that we talk about it, we address it. And not only when it happens, but also we have company safety-wide meetings every Friday. So that's where we go over the observations, positive and negative, of every project site. And everybody were able to talk about it, discuss what happened and how it was addressed. And it's a way of not only talking about the observations, but also training each other. People can learn from others, people's mistakes, and everybody understands that nobody gets in trouble for this.
Wow, that's cultural.
Yes, it's be honest about the observation. there's no repercussions from it. It's really a teaching point.
Moment.
Teaching
Coaching
moment. Yes.
Yeah.
Teaching, coaching. And then I think the most important thing is to address it and not shy away from it. Not think that, oh, you have the perfect safety record, that your culture is perfect when it comes to safety. So you have to address it. And, we do this on top of the STAs that are done in the field and our online safety trainings. And then also we have a third-party safety consultant that comes unannounced and shows up at our job sites and does observations. So that's always great to have a very different, an outsider come in and judge you. Because we do want to prevent incidents from happening on the job site. And really at the end of the day is, we want people to care for each other.
Yep.
And I think when people know that safety is in place because we want you to go home at the end of the day, people are more inclined to be part of it and take care of each other.
And that is clearly being reinforced. It's not a poster on the wall. Or the job of the superintendent and foreman. You're making this a part of the business, which I think is goes to show you the power of culture. So many of the things that you've discussed here today, we're going to start to wrap up, but there's so many of the things that you've done as leading this business that to us are what we imagine this future construction leader looking like. And it's actually very critical to getting to this future state with the industry is the leadership behind it. What is your backstory? What was your background bringing you into the industry that has kind of shaped who you are as a leader today?
Yeah, so I will say, I don't think I could be doing what I do now without my background, without going through all of the hardships and adversity and challenges that I went through since a very young age. I don't think I could sit here and do what I do, deal with the challenges that comes with running a business, not only a business, but a construction business.
Yeah.
It is so hard. And I think, I'm an immigrant. I was raised by a single mom. I started working since the age of 13, and I really worked my way through college. And I was actually the first person in my family to graduate from college. So, that led me into a career in construction, which was very unexpected. But I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I had when I was in corporate. I think I was given opportunities that really changed the trajectory in my career. So I will always be grateful for the companies and the people that I worked with for giving me the seat at the table. And, ultimately, I remember my last project, we were building a $10 billion LNG facility. And my last day, I said, I was saying my goodbyes. And one of my bosses said, go do something meaningful with your life. And I started crying. I immediately started crying because I knew exactly what he meant. And that meant I wanted to have a life that was purposeful, right? To have a purpose, not only to build projects, but I wanted more, and I wanted to build people. And I think that is really what has led me to running the company the way that I do, is I want to empower people. I want to be able to give people the opportunity that maybe they would have not had. Maybe they were overlooked. I want them to know that they can come here, they can get the job done. And as long as you're willing to work hard for it, because it is hard work,
right? But
the opportunity will be here. And that really fulfills me. That's part of my mission. That's what I do. And, we're also able to give back to local organizations. I focus on giving back to women and children organizations, due to my background. I always want to be able to help.
Yeah,
and the most important thing to me is also leading by example. I want people to see me, and people that come from the same, socioeconomic status as I did, and know that you can do it. You can succeed. You have to work really hard, and you have to get back up when you fail. But you got to keep going. You have to keep going. You cannot stop believing in your potential.
That's a super powerful mission. I mean,
it's
and that paired
purpose-driven.
with the industry, right? You can't think of a much better industry that should give back to the whole world, right? Just think of the things that we build, whether it's a children's hospital that, helps cure children's cancer, or it's things that are generating power for the rest of us to just like live our day-to-day lives. Sometimes people just have to take a step back and look what it is that we do in this industry, and it's so incredibly powerful. Well, on that note, you seem to have always had a really good vision for what to do in the future or what's coming. I'd love to just get your spot check. We've talked about a lot of things. Technology is changing, the industry is changing. As far as the future of workforce, our future of productivity, some of these areas, are these things that you see in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, maybe even the next 20 years? Or what's the timeline in your eyes?
Oh, I think it's coming sooner than we think. I think in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So on the shorter end of that time frame.
I think so.
I mean, you all are doing some of this already.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of hard to say it's not going to come that quickly, right?
Yes.
And I think it's promising also. I mean, we talked about your profit margins early on, but I think that's a really important thing to note here is it's allowing you to invest in your business and in your people to make sure that you're really scaling the business. And so in those terms, with that investment, I can see why you're thinking the timeline is a little bit closer than 10, because originally we were thinking 8 to 10 years is what we'd be talking about here. But even in the 2 years we were making this report, so many advances, technological advances had happened that we were like, oh, this timeline horizon could be sooner than we think.
Right.
So we're now at the part of the podcast where we ask you some rapid fire questions, looking for quick answers, a couple words, maybe a sentence, and there's 5 of them. So the first one is, what book have you read or are you reading that you most recommend to someone else?
It would be Get Results That Count with with Connie Sue.
I like that. I haven't read that. That's a good one. I have to add that to the list.
It's intertwined with data and making sure that you're measuring the correct.
All right. The data, you just piqued the interest of the data nerd over here. All right. What's your go-to source for maybe gaining a different or informed perspective?
So I read a lot. A lot of books, a lot of articles. But I do tend to go back and read the McKinsey Insights. And I not only focus on construction, but I focus on reading about all types of businesses.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
I would say keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. I like that. I thought it was going to be don't go into construction. But, I
know too much now, she says.
Yeah. What's one trend or innovation that you think is going to shape the future of our industry?
So I said it earlier, but the construction control room.
The construction control room. This idea of this oversight. I love that too. All right. Last one and the most fun one. If the construction as an industry had a tagline, what would it be?
I would say build, dominate, and power progress.
Wow.
I like that. That's a good one too.
Very powerful action words, which is everything. Indra, thank you so much for joining us today. We really, really appreciate you coming by and sitting down with us and sharing more information and stories about your company. It's really fascinating. Congratulations on all the success you're having.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. This was such a great privilege to be here sitting next to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And now I got another book to go read. So.
Yes. This is part of those 5 rapid questions are selfish. We're like, what are they listening to? What are they watching? What are they reading?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And for those of you who are watching, if you want to download your version of the Future State of Construction Report, there are links below to do that. And if anything that Indra and what we discussed here today resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll keep bringing you the stories of leaders who are building the future, harnessing the power of construction. Thanks for joining us.